we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience for your love with the cold hard hatred. I could feel the vibration, feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring to their knees. Take the thing to see. Just like a weed.
Ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of all ages, shapes and sizes, multi-hair colored goons and nerds everywhere. I am, of course, the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to a very special edition Sunday stream. We are live across 4 different platforms, across 6 different accounts. And my God, do we have a lot to get into from what happened last night. This is, of course, the official rewind for NXT Vengeance Day, which took place last night from Charlotte, North Carolina, streaming live on Peacock at 8 p.m. And if you guys noticed, I got me a new fucking intro. You are listening to Retribution by Nefix. And that intro was created by none other than one of the founders of the Hardcore Sports channel himself, Mr. Mitch Kofsky. And my God, is Mitch Kofsky a fucking beast? Or is he a fucking beast? That may be the best intro that one could possibly create. That was fantastic. Mitch Kofsky is an absolute mastermind if I've ever fucking seen him. And he is in the chat right now, just to remind everyone that I am the best in the motherfucking business. Nobody can touch me. But we got a decent crowd so far. We got DD. We got Philly Sports Talk Podcast, who will be joining me on February 16th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the rundown for the Elimination Chamber. So shout out to him. Shout out to Mitch and shout out to the Final Hoss. Thank you all for tuning in to this stream. I realize that NXT is not exactly lighting the world on fire, so I thought that we would get a little bit of a lackluster crowd, but we got a decent little crowd. I see we got 10 people watching. Please make yourself known. Please make sure that you are active in the chat. Talk amongst the people because we are going to dissect everything that went down last night. Now, NXT has been shit for quite some time now. Since probably the pandemic, you could say, is where things really started. Specifically when Charlotte Flair won the NXT Women's Championship, which, ironically, the fucking bitch did a cold open intro for the show. I mean, it's fucking bad enough I had to see her on SmackDown. Now I have to see her for the intro of NXT Vengeance Day. Fuck Charlotte Flair. Fuck Charlotte Flair. I also gotta listen to Charlotte Flair go on in a podcast interview or a sit down with fucking Fightful that she brought the WrestleMania 35 main event together. Brought it together. If anything, she brought it down from what it could have been. Should have been Becky and Ronda, but Charlotte Flair couldn't stand the fact that Becky Lynch was going to snub her out of the main event because at the end of the fucking day, it all resulted in Becky Lynch getting the spot at WrestleMania because Nia Jax broke her face and Charlotte Flair couldn't understand or live with the fact that shit happens. But we're not here to talk about Charlotte Flair. We're not here to talk about that utter disgrace of a human being. We're here to talk about NXT Vengeance Day. And once again, NXT's been shit. Coincidentally, since Charlotte Flair won the NXT Women's Championship and Vince McMahon really started to institute his own flavor of entertainment, or his own flavor of garbage, so to speak, because let's be real, nothing that Vince McMahon institutes into anything is entertaining. His greatest creations were The Undertaker and WrestleMania. Outside of that, do not put Vince McMahon anywhere near anything wrestling related. And by the way, Jake Roberts, that interview with Jake Roberts, he was correct. Tony Khan is much wiser than Vince McMahon for a multitude of reasons. I should not have to explain to you why. But after the show that we got last night, it wasn't a blowaway show by any means necessary. It was not a NXT TakeOver worthy type of show, minus the opening match, because the opening match was fucking fantastic. But it really makes me wonder why we are not getting what we got last night on Tuesday nights. I've said it over and over again, and a lot of fans have said this over and over again. You don't need all of this hokey bullshit. You don't need all these cringe-worthy characters. You don't need all of this over-the-top garbage and these overly complex angles. You don't need to throw in 8 matches on a show and have 8 fucking squash matches on a show. All you need to do is center the show around professional wrestling. And that's what we got. It was a show that had 6 wrestling matches. They all got ample amount of time. There was no hokey bullshit. There was no spooky shit from Isla Dawn or Alba Fire. There was no crazy over-the-top shenanigans. It was just 6 wrestling matches put together in a show, and in the end, we got a fairly decent show. And I can't really sit here and complain about that. Were some of the outcomes questionable? Yeah, I would say some of the outcomes were questionable, but those are just a couple of minor criticisms. No show is ever perfect, but at the end of the day, it is going to take a long, long time, and I mean a long, long time, for NXT to get back to where it needs to be. We're never going to get Black and Gold back. That is dead, and that is never coming back. But I'm not saying we can't get something at least on the level of what we've seen from SmackDown over the course of the last couple of months. Or something like what we saw at Crown Jewel. Crown Jewel was a great show. We can get something like that, or at least doses of that, on a weekly basis. It really makes me wonder what the fuck Shawn Michaels is doing on Tuesdays. Why does he all of a sudden decide to show up to work 5 times a year for these NXT Premium Live events, 6 times a year for these NXT Premium Live events, but then every single Tuesday, he just coasts through it like it's amateur hour? It really makes me wonder. Deadline was very good. Vengeance Day was very good. But again, here is the main thing that I would love to know. Can they follow up on it? Can they give us a decent story going into the next pay-per-view? Can they give us a decent build going into Stand and Deliver, which very well could be their biggest show of this new NXT era to date, and it could very well be the most important and the most pivotal show for the NXT era. Although I say that it's going to be a pivotal show almost every time. Deadline really should have been a reset, and I felt like it was a reset, but they didn't follow up on it. Vengeance Day, they gave us something decent. Can they follow up on it? I don't know. And to be quite honest with you, I don't have any faith in them. But for one night, we can sit here and say NXT was not atrocious. It's not really saying much. It's a very low bar considering NXT is at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to professional wrestling, especially throughout the week. I mean, Rampage is more newsworthy and more interesting than NXT. The only reason why Rampage does not do the same ratings as Dynamite is because Rampage is on at a 10 p.m. time slot on a Friday night, and it's going on right after SmackDown. And at that point, people have already had their daily dose of wrestling. So at the end of the day, people are not going to spend all too much time to go out and watch wrestling on a Friday night like that. But NXT's at the bottom of the barrel. NXT's at the bottom of the barrel. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to dissect the winners. We're going to dissect the losers. We're going to dissect what we can see going into Stand and Deliver, which, again, is going to be a very pivotal show in more ways than one. I know I say that a lot, but I'm telling you, there is going to be a huge changing of the guard at Stand and Deliver. And if you saw the ending of Vengeance Day, I think you all know what I'm referring to. But Vengeance Day ended up being a very good wrestling show. Nothing over the top, but at this rate, if I can sit here and tell you that I was not embarrassed to be a wrestling fan while watching an NXT show, then that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. But thank you guys for tuning into the stream once again. You guys have been fantastic. The DJ Storms brand has been fucking booming, and I mean fucking booming. The numbers are up. The subscriber count's going up. We are evolving. We are getting down to the nitty and the gritty, like I always say. WrestleMania season has been flourishing for the DJ Storms brand. Obviously, we got the Elimination Chamber coming up. We got Revolution. And then we got Stand and Deliver, Supercard of Honor, and WrestleMania weekend. That is going to be a busy fucking weekend for me. That's for sure. That is going to be fucking busy. If I've ever fucking been busy, it is going to be packed. And we're going to have a lot of shit to talk about. We are. So be prepared. Be prepared. We're going to be talking about a lot of shit that weekend. We're going to be talking about a lot of good material. Obviously, we got some ISPW events coming up. We got more Eye of the Storms coming up with wrestler interviews. Thank you very much for the support that you gave me for the interview with Michael Mars. Plenty more material coming your way. And before we get into the normal self-brand promotion and the advertisements, I want to take some time to promote one of my very good friends and a loyal supporter of the DJ Storms brand. If you guys are looking for top-notch, handcrafted, designed wrestling drawings, crafted from scratch on a mere iPad, if you're looking for quality iPad wrestling drawings and solid pictures drawn from scratch, look no further than Brittany K. I want to show you some of her drawings right here. You take a look right here. We got the Wyatt family, Harper, Rowan, Strowman, and Wyatt. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin, a nice little Picasso-esque background. You see the detail. The detail is fucking brilliant. Again, drawn from scratch on an iPad. You got Elias as well. Excellent design on his beard. Excellent design on his clothes as well. And then, of course, you got yourself the last version of Braun Strowman before he was released by WWE. The bald head, the long beard, the cargo shirt. It is quality. Brittany K is fantastic at what she does. If you want to follow her on social media and DM her and ask her for drawings, you can go and follow her on Twitter at Brittany K 5150. That is BRITTANY KAY 5150 on Twitter. That is her Twitter. And then on Instagram, it is Brittany K Designs. Same spelling of Brittany, same spelling of K. And I'm pretty sure all of you know how to spell designs. Please go and check her out. She is fantastic. So this show and all streams going forward, sponsored by Brittany K Designs. She is great. She is a wonderful human being, and she is a fantastic drawer. If you want any of these drawings and plenty more, people like The Undertaker and people like Jay Briscoe, God rest his soul, plenty more in between, please make sure that you check out Brittany K. Once again, her Twitter at Brittany K 5150, and then her Instagram at Brittany K Designs. Please go check her out if you want some high-quality wrestling drawings from her iPad. Please make sure that you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. That is both on Twitter and Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. Once again, at HistoryMakerDJS, both on Twitter and Instagram. Please make sure that you add me on Facebook as well. We are streaming live from my personal Facebook. Again, a little special edition thing going forward. Streaming live on my personal Facebook for the rundowns and the rewinds. And I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves with the personal Facebook experience as well. We're also streaming live on the DJ Storms Posse Facebook group. And if you like the official DJ Storms Posse Facebook group, you can become a full-fledged member of the DJ Storms Posse group. You like the business page, you get access into the group. I am a part of it. Everyone is a part of it. You can post whatever you want. You can promote your shit. You can promote my shit. You could talk about anything wrestling related. It is an open field. No restrictions, just no stupidity, and always be respectful. Please, for collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is stormstakeover@gmail.com. As I said, like the business page, and I'll add you into the official DJ Storms Posse group. Earl Cole's on there, and DD is on there, and Mitch Kovsky is on there. They are all fantastic. Thank you very much to Earl Cole, by the way, for appearing on the rundown for NXT Vengeance Day this past Thursday. It is always a great time to collaborate with him. The Lightning Flash update from yesterday is doing fantastic. It is almost at 100 views. And if you guys want to go check it out, please go check it out. We reviewed Raw, SmackDown, and Rampage on Dynamite. We talked about Dynamite on the rundown for NXT Vengeance Day with Earl Cole. We predicted NXT Vengeance Day, and we talked about Dynamite. So go and check out those two streams if you missed them. The Lightning Flash update is almost at 100 views, and it also includes a huge, and I mean a huge, long rant about Charlotte Flair, and my God, did I need to get a lot of that shit off my chest. If you missed it, please go and check it out. You will not regret it. You are going to absolutely love it, and hopefully I will have educated a lot of people in regards to why I absolutely despise Charlotte Flair, both professionally and personally. Please make sure, if you haven't already done so, to hit the like button. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so, and share the stream out on all platforms of social media, including Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, and TikTok. Everything in between that you could possibly share it out to. We are streaming live on my Twitter, on the Facebook group, on my personal Facebook, on the Hardcore Sports Twitch, and both my channel and the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel. Go and follow all of the Hardcore Sports links down below as per usual. Hit the subscribe button, whether it be on my channel or the Hardcore Sports channel, and hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh baby, it is the best time to be on YouTube, because it's the only time that you're going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Earl Cole's not in the chat yet. We'll probably see him a little bit later, but we're going to light it up right here on the rewind with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of because like turkey bolognese sauce and chicken parm stromboli. Oh, I'm just so good. I had that for lunch, actually, and it was fantastic. Everybody wants a piece of the Storms Meister. You already know the drill. But anyway, let's get straight into the festivities here. We got Charlotte Flair, as I said, doing the intro for the show. Who gives a shit? From there, we went into Wes Lee and Dijak for the NXT North American Championship. And if there was one match that they made the right choice with kicking off the show, it was indeed this match. This match was absolutely fucking fantastic in every which way. And if you ask me to pick a match from the show that is going to go down as the match of the night, it was this match. It was absolutely this match. This match was fantastic. This match reminded me of NXT TakeOver Black and Gold, if I've ever fucking seen a match to remind me of such a wonderful time and wonderful shows. This was absolutely fantastic from start to finish. Wesley and Dijak went 20 minutes, and they absolutely tore the fucking house down, and I'm very happy that they both got the shine that they oh so rightfully deserve. And this was probably one of NXT's best produced matches ever, at least in this new era. At least in this new era, post 2.0, this was one of the best NXT matches in the post 2.0 era that I think I've personally seen. It was fantastic from start to finish. It didn't come without a few minor criticisms. We're going to talk about it. So Wes Lee, he was coming into this as the North American champion. Dijak, a fantastic entrance. Shout out to my friend JoJo from Cali. She is stopping in to say hi. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you very much. So Dijak, great entrance as always. Lee was using his quickness against Dijak with a nice Hurricane Rana out of the corner. Dijak caught Lee in midair and gave him a Death Valley driver onto the floor, which looked brutal. So Dijak wore down Lee using his power. Lee was tossed to the floor like a fucking child. Dijak tried to dissect Lee. Lee mounted a comeback. The crowd was behind him. Nice super kick right to the back of the head by Wes Lee. Enziguri, and a beautiful bridging German suplex for a 2. Wes Lee is deceptively strong. On the apron, they traded punches back and forth. Dijak was back body dropped on the apron. Dijak took some nasty fucking bumps. Dijak took some nasty fucking bumps in this match. Dijak hit hard. Lee with a cartwheel handspring tope con hero, which looked fantastic. Lee was then caught by Dijak. He was going for Feast Your Eyes. This is where I thought it was it. Lee reversed it into a Poison Rana. Dijak, again, right on his neck. Fisherman driver connects. Dijak kicked out. Super kick by Lee. Dijak caught Lee in midair, delivered High Justice, which is a sit-out choke bomb. High Justice connects. Lee stayed alive. Dijak then locked in a rear naked choke. Crowd was behind Wes Lee. Wes Lee started to fade, but he ended up rising up from the ashes, and he got to the ropes. Dijak went for Feast Your Eyes. Lee countered. He delivered a nice backflip out of the High Justice. Super kick by Wes Lee. Dijak was like, come on, give me more, give me more. Lee went for a kick off the ropes. Dijak delivered a cyclone kick, which turned Wes Lee inside out. Wes Lee kicked out. Dijak with a super kick and a lariat, turning Wes Lee inside out again. Wes Lee kicked out. So it's that underdog babyface mentality. Wes Lee would not go down. Dijak took Lee up to the middle rope. He was going for the kill blow. Lee, I don't know how Dijak got up after this. Wes Lee reversed a powerbomb into a spike Rana. So picture, like, you've seen Kalisto do a spike Rana when someone is kneeling on the floor. Picture Dijak going for a powerbomb from the middle rope. Wes Lee reversed it into a Hurricane Rana, and Dijak's forehead, his face, goes splat into the fucking mat. Face first into the fucking mat. It looked fucking brutal. I thought he broke his neck. I legitimately thought Dijak was concussed or he broke his neck. It was absolutely fucking brutal. I don't know how he got up. So not only did he get up, but Dijak was on the receiving end of a spiral tap by Wes Lee, and he kicked out. Unbelievable. He kicked out. Dijak then took an announce chair. He took an announce chair and he put Wes Lee in an announce chair on the floor, took a broomstick and locked him in the announce chair, so he was trapped. Dijak went up to the top and he was going for a fucking moonsault, the fucking maniac. Tony D'Angelo and Stax, who have had some problems with Dijak, came in, shoved Wes Lee out of the way, and Dijak took them out with a moonsault. Dijak then went after Lee. He said to Tony and Stax, stay out of my business. Back in the ring, Wes Lee caught Dijak coming off of the top rope with a super kick. Wes Lee with a handspring backflip Pele kick right to the head. And Dijak, afterwards, I think that's where he broke his finger. Dijak fucking broke his finger when Wes Lee hit him with that move. And his finger was completely fucking... It was like pointing to the fucking west. Like, his hand was to the east, but the finger was pointing to the west. It looked fucking brutal. It looked brutal. Rough night at the office for Dijak, but holy shit, did Dijak wrestle his fucking ass off in this match. Dijak ends up losing due to the handspring Pele kick and the interference from Tony D'Angelo and Stax. This was fucking excellent. I cannot give Dijak and I cannot give Wesley enough praise. They are absolutely unbelievable at what they do. Two of the best. Wesley is absolutely, again, I don't want to make comparisons, but he's like the second coming of Ricochet. He's legitimately the second coming of Ricochet. And Dijak, I mean, if Dijak is not in a high priority role on main roster TV sooner rather than later, if Dijak does not win at least one fucking championship, I don't know what the fuck we're doing with this guy. This guy deserves to be NXT champion multiple times over, North American champion multiple times over. This guy deserves to go to the main roster to fight Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. I want to see him in Elimination Chamber matches doing crazy shit. Dijak has everything that you want in a fucking superstar. I don't understand how this man has not won a single fucking championship. And how long has he been employed by WWE? 5 years? 5 years and not one single championship? That's fucking criminal. Now, I was shocked by the outcome. Well, I shouldn't say shocked. Because Wesley, he hasn't held the title for that long. This was only his third defense, and he's only held it since October, the end of October. He's only held it for, 3 months, 3.5 months? It's not that long of a title reign. Wesley got the victory, or he retains. Now, I'm not going to tell you that he doesn't deserve it, because he does. He absolutely deserves it. He deserves to hold the championship a little bit longer, and I could probably see him dropping it at Stand and Deliver. Wesley absolutely deserves this. But at the end of the day, it's very, very hard for me to sit here and accept Dijak losing, even with the interference from Tony D'Angelo and Stacks. It's very, very hard for me to see Dijak losing just because of what they've done with Dijak and how they gave him this new character that he wants to right wrongs from his past and achieve high justice and win championships. And he was looking dominant. He was winning matches. He was undefeated. It's very, very hard for me to see Dijak lose in that manner, no matter how good Wesley is and no matter how great Dijak is and no matter how great he looked in defeat, regardless of the interference from D'Angelo and Stacks. It's very, very hard for me to see Dijak lose. Now, is he buried? No. No, he's not. It's just very, very hard for me to see Dijak take the loss because I went in this thinking to myself, there's no way that Dijak's going to lose this match. And it sucks for Wesley, but there's no way that Dijak's going to lose this match. But I guess that they wanted to protect Wesley in a way. They wanted to protect Wesley by having Tony D'Angelo and Stacks kind of cost Dijak. Maybe we get a triple threat match with Dijak, D'Angelo, and Wesley. If that's the case, I'm not going to complain because I think that would be a fantastic match. And maybe we could get the title on either D'Angelo or Dijak that way, depending on which way they want to go. I don't know. It's just very hard for me to see Dijak lose after he's been built up with this new gimmick. He was undefeated, and he wants to right wrongs from his past, and then here he is losing to Wesley. That's just a minor criticism. Other than that, I'm very happy for Wesley. I'm happy that he's getting more time with the North American title because his matches are fantastic. The last 3 title defenses that he's had have been very good. This match obviously being the best. And they put on an NXT black and gold-esque type of match. And I can't really complain about it in the end. It's just tough to see Dijak lose. Also, the Charlotte crowd was very, very good. Sure, this crowd for this match reminded me of an NXT Black and Gold TakeOver crowd. This crowd was great. And you know what? I'm very, very happy that they're starting to do shows outside of the Performance Center once again. It feels like what the ambiance of a Black and Gold felt. We need the fan base in attendance at these large venues for these big premium live events. And you know what? Wesley and Dijak, they showed up and they fucking delivered and then some. So you know what? I'm happy about that. Good for them. Katana Chance and Caden Carter versus Kiana James and Fallon Henley. This was for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. And I have to be honest here, I actually expected this to stick out like a sore thumb, and it was not going to be all that impressive. Now, it wasn't a blowaway match, but I will say this. This was a lot better than expected. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, they are fucking phenomenal at what they do. They are absolutely fantastic at what I do not have enough praise for Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, they are a fantastic tag team. They are pure baby faces together. They're lovable. They're like the female version of DIY. They're like the female version of DIY. They're real life best friends. They live together. They train together. They eat together. They spend a lot of time together. They wrestle together as a tag team. And they are just so fucking fluid in the ring. And they have all the makings of such a great babyface tag team. Even though women's tag team wrestling is pretty much a non-factor and it should not be a thing. No company should have women's tag team titles except Stardom. But oh my God, are they good? Are they fucking great, or are they fucking great? I think that when they break up, because they're going to have to break up at some point, Kaden Carter has all the makings of a great heel. She has not because she has a heel attitude, but her look just screams to me heel. She's a babyface and she's loved, but she has the look of a heel. I don't know about you, but I see Kaden Carter being a really good heel in due time. And then Katana Chance, Casey Kanzara, I mean, I fucking adore the woman. I adore the woman. I think she's a fucking saint. She's an angel. She's a gift from God. I look at her and there's no way that anyone can tell me that they don't see female Johnny Gargano, female Bryan Danielson. She has all the makings of the next top tier underdog babyface if they just let her do what she does best and let her be herself. Everything about her, it's just, everything about her is lovable. How can you not look at that woman and look at that angelic smile and think to yourself, man, I want to see that woman succeed. I want to see that woman go straight to the top. Katana Chance, Casey Kanzara, I'm telling you right now, if they get behind her and they play their cards right, she is the female Daniel Bryan. She is the female Johnny Gargano if I've ever fucking seen one. And then you got Kiana James and Fallon Henley. Kiana James, she has come a long way, and I think she's doing very well for herself. Fallon Henley, she's really not all that impressive and she's not all that crazy, but I would say that this was probably the best that Fallon Henley looked ever since she came to NXT. And the match itself, I will say, it was a lot better than expected. All four women, they showed up to work, and they worked their asses off. The outcome, however, was rather questionable. I have a theory as to why they did the outcome, and we will talk about that after we go over the match. Also, shout out to Raphael and shout out to Hula Grim. They just joined in the chat. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. So, we get this match. Fallon Henley and Kiana James had a little bit of miscommunication. We had some nice double team action by Chance and Carter. Henley wore down Katana Chance. Chance tagged in Carter. She ran wild. Drop kick splash combo. A running boot. Henley went out. On the outside, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, they delivered an assisted crossbody onto James and Henley. Back in the ring, we had an assisted Hurricane Rana by Katana Chance, which looked great. Spinebuster by James on Carter for a 2. James then sent Carter out. James and Henley took over. Neckbreaker, diving blockbuster by Henley. A power slam, power bomb combination by Henley and James, which looked pretty decent. Carter saved the match. Carter delivered a cutter off the apron to Kiana James on the floor. James was down. Henley and Carter were up top. This was probably the best spot of the match right here. Henley was on Carter's shoulders. Carter was sitting on the top turnbuckle. Henley was on her shoulders. Katana Chance, I don't know how the fuck she does this shit. Katana Chance, like an absolute maniac, goes up to the top rope and she delivers a Frankensteiner off of Carter's shoulders. Henley goes down. I thought that was it. Henley kicked out. James then took out Katana Chance. Henley with a roll-up, and Kiana James held down Carter's feet behind the referee's back underneath the rope. And in the end, we have new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Match was a lot better than expected, and I will give them credit. All 4 women, they worked their asses off. But at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit about the women's tag team titles. Nobody gives a shit about women's tag team wrestling. Matter of fact, when Katana Chance and Kaden Carter break up, women's tag team wrestling is pretty much dead. Damage Control and Katana and Kaden, you know? Katana and Kaden and Damage Control are legitimately the only 2 interesting aspects of the women's tag team division. Other than that, there is no division. It's a dead concept. It's a dead division. Now, the outcome was rather surprising. I was not expecting new champions, and to be quite honest with you, I wouldn't have done new champions. However, something tells me that they may be next in line to get called up. Something tells me that these 2 women, Katana and Kaden, and they're more than ready, and they're long overdue for a call-up. They could very well be the next in line to get called up to the main roster. And if that's the case, I mean, I guess I shouldn't really be complaining, and I guess I shouldn't be really looking too much into it, and I should be happy about that. But if anything, it would have been a lot better to me if they went up to the main roster as the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. They called out Damage Control, and then Damage Control and Katana and Kaden did a title-for-title match at WrestleMania, and we could have combined the titles. We would have gotten 1 set of championships. Or, better yet, we could have just retired both set of championships and we wouldn't have to worry about it ever again because no one cares about women's tag team wrestling. Now, that's just me. But again, if they're being called up, then you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be looking too much into it because they are well overdue for a main roster call-up. And Damage Control needs a great set of baby faces to work with. I mean, if you want a great set of baby faces, look no further than Katana and Kaden. So at the end of the day, I guess I shouldn't really be complaining too much. But again, it's very, very hard for me to see them lose after the great run that they've been on, especially to a team like Fallon Henley and Kiana James. No matter how good Kiana James is, and no matter if Fallon Henley put in the work, it really doesn't matter. It's very, very hard for me to see them lose like that to a team that was literally just stitched together last minute. All in the sense to fuel this love triangle with Fallon Henley, Kiana James, and fucking Brooks Jensen. Stupid. Match was decent. Fine. Really nothing overly special, but Katana and Kaden, they fucking worked their asses off, and so did Kiana James and Fallon Henley, and they gave us a match that could have been shit, but ended up turning out to be fairly okay. But again, the outcome, I don't know. I don't know about that. If they're getting called up, I mean, I guess. But again, I still would have done the title-for-title match with Kaden, Katana, and Damage Control at WrestleMania. And then I would have retired both sets of championships. Apollo Crews versus Carmelo Hayes. This was a 2 out of 3 falls match. And in all honesty, I was actually expecting a little bit more from these two. Not to say that they put on a bad match. They put on a great match. There's no way that Carmelo Hayes and Apollo Crews are going to have bad matches. The match was great, but at the end of the day, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the pacing. I guess that they wanted to try a little bit of a different pace. I don't know who really produced this match, but I don't know if they were trying not to get injured. I don't know what it was, but the match was a little too slow. The match was a little too slow for me. Not to say it was bad. It was very, very good. Very good. It was storyline driven. It was a clinic. It was a clinic. Both men did a very good job. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I guess I set my expectations a little bit too high. I was expecting what we got with Dijak and Wesley. But in the end, we didn't get that. In the end, this was probably only the third best match of the night. When you look back on it, it's only the third best match of the night. Not to say it was bad, it was very good. So we had a very technical start to the match. Cruz tried to use his power early on. He got in Williams' face. He dodged Mello and gave him a clothesline on the outside. Mello was on the floor. Apollo Crews with a beautiful moonsault off the apron to Mello on the floor. Williams brought out a chair and he sat down in it. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to sit in my chair and I'm not going to use it. So Cruz with a deadlift suplex on Hayes for a 2. Hayes sent Cruz to the floor. He tried to lay into Cruz. Cruz came back with a German suplex barrage, a nice back body drop. Cruz tried to pick up the pace with a nice leaping lariat, stinger splash, enziguri by Hayes. Cruz with a deadlift superplex from the apron for a 2. We had Hayes with a spinning face slam. Cruz kicked out. We had an elevated cutter by Hayes for a 2. The crossface was then locked in, and Cruz ended up tapping out. And I guess that was kind of a strategic tap out because Cruz thought he could tie up the falls, and we would have gone into a third and decisive fall, but that was not to be in the end. So Cruz ended up tapping out to the crossface. Carmelo Hayes won the first fall. Cruz was being worked over. Cruz then with more German suplexes and a very nice standing shooting star press for a 2. Hayes with a handspring leaping leg drop for a 2. Cruz, this was great right here. Cruz with a running DDT Canadian Destroyer. So picture a Canadian Destroyer, but instead of your head being between someone's legs for the Canadian Destroyer part, instead of like a pile driver, it was a DDT. His head, Carmelo Hayes' head, was underneath Cruz's arm, and Cruz backflipped into a DDT onto Carmelo, which looked great, and Carmelo kicked out. Both men were now up top. Both men crashed and burned. Cruz with a leaping knee, large backdrop suplex. Hayes got up, delivered a code breaker, and then Cruz popped up Hayes in the air, caught him into a Death Valley driver. Both men were down. They got a decent little ovation. Trick Williams then took the turnbuckle pad off. Cruz was pissed. He then whipped Mello into the exposed buckle. He whipped Mello into the exposed buckle, so it backfired on him. All of a sudden, Dabba-Kato, formerly known as Commander Aziz, Apollo Cruz's former acquaintance, took out Williams. Cruz was distracted because of Williams. Hayes delivered a flying lariat, and then he delivered the diving axe kick, which he calls nothing but net, and Hayes ends up sweeping Apollo Cruz 2-0. I thought it was great. I thought it was very storyline driven, but in the end, a little too slow. I was expecting a little bit more. I was expecting an NXT TakeOver Black and Gold Classic. We didn't get that, and I was kind of disappointed at that. Not to say that the match overall was a disappointment, but again, I expected a lot more. Still a great wrestling match nonetheless, and I feel as though they focused a little bit more on the wrestling aspect. They tried to tell a little bit more of a story. They were a little bit more technical in the beginning. It was all about one-upsmanship. They put on a clinic. Sometimes the clinic is good. Sometimes the clinic is bad. This type of clinic was somewhere in the middle. Still a very good match in the end. And I don't mind that Hayes won 2-0. Because if anything, this makes Carmelo Hayes look very strong, especially considering what he's going into in the next couple of months. So I did not mind Carmelo Hayes sweeping Apollo Crews. Did not mind that at all. Afterwards, Dabba-Kato then helped Cruz up. They embraced, but then he headbutted Cruz and gave him a choke bomb on the steel chair. Don't know why. Not really sure if this is going to be very interesting or not. They do have history. Not really sure why Dabba-Kato decided to turn on Apollo Crews And to be quite honest with you, not really sure where Dabba-Kato fits in this version of NXT. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I'm not really interested in a Dabba-Kato Apollo Crews program. I would rather Crews feud with someone like a Wes Lee. I would rather Crews feud with someone like a Dijak. I would rather Crews feud with someone like a Grayson Waller, or we've seen that already, or rather a Tony D'Angelo. I would rather Crews fight those guys because those guys and Apollo Crews could have bangers. Dabba-Kato really hasn't had anything that resembles a banger. I would much rather have Crews fight guys like that, or guys like an Axiom. I think that Axiom is fantastic. Or J.D. McDonough. I would love to see Crews versus a J.D. McDonough. That's actually a great program that I would love to see. Crews and Ilya Dragunov. Those are my types of matches. Dabba-Kato, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think that we can leave Dabba-Kato out of this equation. Chase U. This is Andre Chase and Duke Hudson versus Pretty Deadly versus Gallus versus The New Day. This is a fatal four-way match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And I think it's pretty safe to say that the NXT Tag Team division has been very, very dead. The NXT Tag Team division has been very, very, very dead. Not because the talent there is bad. Pretty Deadly's a very good tag team. Gallus is a very good tag team. You got Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. They're a great underdog babyface tag team. The Schism are a bunch of great wrestlers. Zach Gibson and James Drake, or Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed. They are two phenomenal wrestlers. They're a great tag team. It's just the character sucks. The character just sucks. It's kind of the same thing with Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs. They're two very good wrestlers. They put on a very good match with the New Day back in December. They're very good wrestlers. It's just that their characters don't connect. Their characters are very blah. And then you got Chase U. I don't know what it is, and I don't know. I guess it's just professional wrestling at its finest, taking its course. I have been very hard on Chase U. I have shit all over Andre Chase, not because he's a bad wrestler. He's not the best, but he can hold his own in the ring. Duke Hudson is a great professional wrestler as well. I can honestly see Duke Hudson being the second coming of Wade Barrett if they want him to be. He could fight for the IC title. He could fight for the US title. He's got a great look. He's intense. He's explosive. So at the end of the day, it's not that they're bad wrestlers. It's just the gimmick is so cheesy. The gimmick is just so cheesy. And Andre Chase, he's a good wrestler and he's charismatic. He has charisma. He can talk. He's entertaining at times. But I don't understand why he wrestles in a fucking college sweater. And then on top of that, if I did not pay attention and I did not look very closely at his shoes, which were Nikes, probably one of the ugliest Nikes I think I've ever seen, I would think that he's wrestling in fucking bowling shoes. I legitimately thought that Andre Chase, at first glance, if I did not see the Nike sign, I legitimately thought that Andre Chase was wrestling in fucking bowling shoes. Not even fucking joking. I had this guy chasing the 24/7 championship within 2 weeks on the main roster. I had him going nowhere. He's an enhancement talent on NXT. But for some weird reason, I don't know what it was. I'm guessing it was just because of the different crowd and because he was in his hometown. I don't know what it is, but I think it's just we're at this stage with Andre Chase in which the character, which is retarded, by the way, I guess it's just so retarded that it's good. I guess it's just so retarded that it's good. It's like Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed. It makes legitimately no sense. It's so fucking random. Makes no sense. It came legitimately out of nowhere. They literally just pulled it out of their ass. It makes no sense, and it's fucking retarded, but it's over as shit. It's the most overact in AEW right now, minus MJF. It's very, very, very difficult for me to sit here and say, I want to shit on it. Like, I do. I want to shit on it, but I can't bring myself to shit on it because for some weird reason, they're starting to grow on me. For some weird reason, I don't know what it is. They're starting to grow on me. Their charisma and the way that they play up to the crowd, for some weird reason, and the way that they play up to the crowd and all that shit, for some weird reason, it's rubbing off on me. It's rubbing off on me. I don't know why. I don't know how, but it is. Maybe if we get Andre Chase in some proper wrestling attire, maybe I'd be a little bit more open to it. That's what we need. If Andre Chase gets into some proper fucking wrestling attire, then at the end of the day, I'd be a little bit more open to Chase U. But I can't really sit here and shit on him, especially not after this match, because this match was fucking great. This was an extremely fun match. Extremely. And I guess you can make the argument that all of the NXT tag teams, they got their character problems. Gallus is probably the best team in that division. Gallus is fucking great. They fucking ran roughshod over NXT UK. Gallus is awesome. Gallus is a great tag team. They don't give a shit about anything but going in that ring and just beating the ever-living shit out of anyone that they see. And that's what I want out of Gallus. Where's Joe Coffey? Where the fuck's Joe Coffey? Is he injured? Does he have personal issues going on? Is he sick? Is he trying to get his visa worked out? What's going on with Joe Coffey? I want to see Joe Coffey on TV because Joe Coffey is fucking great. Give me Joe Coffey. I want to see Gallus at full strength. Gallus, if anything, Gallus should be on the main roster feuding with Imperium and the Brawling Brutes and the Bloodline and the Judgment Day and all these fucking factions. They should be on the main roster. Pretty Deadly. They're a very good tag team. They're just over fucking accentuated. They were not this accentuated in NXT UK. They were not this accentuated in NXT UK. Their characters were turned up all the way to a 125, and we need to dial that shit back. Less of that, more wrestling, please. And then you got the New Day. I mean, the New Day are the New Day. They've been running the same fucking gimmick for the last 10 years. They're not entertaining. They're not good characters. You know when the New Day should have broken up? They honestly should have broken up after their feud with the Usos. The New Day should have honestly broken up after their feud with the Usos. There was nothing for the New Day to do after that. Nothing for them to do. The New Day should have broken up after their feud with the Usos. There was nothing left for them to do. Nothing. Xavier Woods has the makings to be a great U.S. champion or a great Intercontinental champion. Kofi's seen his day. He's a Hall of Famer. He should be putting other people over. He doesn't need to win any more championships. If anything, the New Day are holding each other back. The New Day gimmick has run its course, and it's been stale for years. We need to get the New Day off of TV and get them new characters and split them up. I'm done with the New Day. I'm done with the New Day. And the only reason why the New Day are in NXT and the only reason why they won the NXT Tag Team titles is because Shawn Michaels idiotically thought that the New Day would bring some new viewers to NXT, but they didn't. NXT recorded a rating under 600,000 this past Tuesday, and I guarantee you that come Tuesday, it's not going to be a very good rating either. NXT's at the bottom of the barrel, and the New Day are not helping. Matter of fact, the New Day are going to drive people away from NXT. But this match was very, very fun. This was a very fun match in the end. And if anything, this was probably the second best match on the show. Out of all the matches, this was probably the second best match on the entire show. So, everyone got a little bit of their shit in. Elton Prince got his shit in. The New Day got their shit in. Andre Chase got his shit in. He had a little flurry. Wolfgang and Mark Coffey got their shit in. Woods was isolated before he got the tag to Kofi. Kofi ran wild on Pretty Deadly and Mark Coffey. Kofi hit a triple boom drop. SOS on Elton Prince. Kit Wilson ended up saving it. Everybody started taking out everybody, one after the other after the other. We had an assisted gutbuster by Pretty Deadly. Kingston kicked out. Pretty Deadly was taken out. We had Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods hit the daybreak on Elton Prince, and everybody saved that. It was an all-out melee. Kofi was brawling with Pretty Deadly on the outside. And Coffee then turned into Wolfgang, and then Duke Hudson got into it, and Xavier Woods got into it. Kofi was then tossed off the middle rope onto the pile. Up on the top rope, Andre Chase was up there with Kit Wilson, and Andre Chase delivered a superplex to Kit Wilson into the pile of human bodies. Gallus then went after Andre Chase. Hudson saved him. Gallus took apart the announce table. Hudson was taken out. Pretty Deadly then ended up putting the cover back on the table because they're heels. Hudson in the ring delivered a double lariat. He ran wild with an overhead belly-to-belly to Prince. Hudson I've actually been very impressed with. He's actually gotten a lot better in the ring. He's very, very good. We had a flying forearm on Coffee. Gallus then took Hudson and choke-slammed him through the announce table. So Hudson put through the announce table. The announce table fucking exploded. And Hudson was never to be seen again. Andre Chase then mounted a comeback. And again, this is part of the Andre Chase character. I don't know what it is, but it's starting to grow on me. And Andre Chase did the Andre Chase stomps. He's like, give me a C, C, H, H, A, A, S, S, E, E, U. What's that spell? Chase U. I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was rather entertaining. It was very, very, very entertaining. And to hear the large crowd do it, it made for a very, very, very nice pop. So Andre Chase then delivered a very nice crossbody off the top rope, delivered a figure four on Mark Coffey. Wolfgang broke it up with the Howling, which is his swanton bomb. We had an enziguri and a slam by Gallus. Chase ended up kicking out. So I started thinking to myself, oh man, I think Chase U's going to win this shit. Kofi then took out Coffee. Kofi went for a trust fall on the outside. Pretty Deadly delivered spilt milk on the floor. Xavier Woods then took out Pretty Deadly. Gallus with a double team, sliding forearm, and a power slam combo. And Gallus ended up winning the NXT Tag Team titles. And you know what? I'm happy about it. I was thinking to myself, holy shit, they actually made the right decision. They made the right call. Absolutely the right call to have Gallus win. Gallus should have been the team to take the titles off of the New Day from the jump. Why? Because Gallus is a great fucking tag team. They're a great fucking faction. And Gallus are great heels. They're great heels. And they're great professional wrestlers too. Exactly what needed to happen. Now, I didn't think that they were going to do it this early. That's why it was rather shocking to me. I thought that the New Day were going to retain this. I thought the New Day were going to retain the championships. They were going to win this. And we were probably going to build towards another match at Stand and Deliver with the New Day and Gallus. And then that's when Gallus were going to win the championships. But I guess not. So Gallus are the champs now. Very, very happy about that. Gallus are the ones running the NXT Tag Team division, as they should be. And if they want to, they could either choose one of the two. They could either build up Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, or they can build up Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. And based on what happened here, it looks like that they could very well be building up Andre Chase and Duke Hudson to win the NXT championships, the NXT Tag Team championships, somewhere down the line. I would wait until In Your House. I would personally wait until In Your House, and then that is when I would do it. I would wait until In Your House, and then I would do the title change in June at In Your House, and let that be it. That's what I would do. That's what I would do personally. But this was a great match. This was very fun. It was chaotic. It was all over the place. And all four teams did a very good job. So I can't sit here and complain about it. And we got the right outcome. Probably the second best match of the night overall. And Gallus ended up winning the tag team titles, which I am extremely, extremely happy about. Roxanne Perez versus Gigi Dolan versus Jacy Jayne. This was a triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. And the only reason why they did this match was because of the simple fact that they are continuing the storyline from back in December when Roxanne Perez beat Mandy Rose. Mandy got fired, and now Gigi and Jacy are looking for revenge on Roxanne Perez for crumbling the Toxic Attraction empire. I said that this was going to be the weakest match of the night, and it was. It was absolutely the weakest match of the night. I said that Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne do not belong on a premium live event because they don't. And I would have much rather have taken an Alba Fire or a Sol Ruca or a Lyra Valkyria or an Isla Dawn to take on Roxanne Perez. I even would have taken Cora Jade. And I actually think that that's where they're headed. For Stand and Deliver, I think that we're going to revisit the program with Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. Because it seems as though the last couple of pay-per-views, they were tied together. It came down to Cora and Roxanne in the Iron Survivor Challenge, and Cora Jade was going to win it, but there wasn't enough time to get the pinfall on Roxanne before the clock hit 25. So I think they're going to revisit that. But this was Roxanne Perez's first title defense of the NXT Women's Championship, and it was continuing the storyline of Roxanne Perez crumbling the Toxic Attraction empire. This was not a match to go back and rewatch. This was not anything memorable. But I guess the one thing that I could have asked for, they at least delivered on that. The one thing that I was hoping for, the one thing that I wanted was I did not want an embarrassment. I did not want a match that embarrassed the women's division. I did not want a match that embarrassed any of these women. I did not want to see a blemish on a pay-per-view that should really be a standout, considering this is the first ever NXT event outside of the Florida area since NXT TakeOver Portland almost 3 years ago. Almost 3 years ago. So the match itself, not anything memorable, but I will say this. This was probably the best that Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne have looked. This was probably the best match that I think that they've had. A lot of that had to do with the fact that Roxanne Perez is legitimately a beast. She's a fucking prodigy. She is so good at, 21 years old? I'm going to be 24. She's 3 years younger than me. And she is this good at what she does at such a young fucking age. Roxanne Perez is fantastic at what she does. So, the match itself, again, not memorable, but in the end, we ended up getting a fairly okay triple threat match. It was not horrible. It wasn't horrendous. It wasn't atrocious. It was not nauseating. It was not embarrassing to watch. It wasn't clunky. Thankfully, it wasn't clunky. All the women did what they were supposed to do. They hit their spots. They took bumps. And at the end of the day, I guess all I could really ask for is the fact that they didn't embarrass themselves, and that's what we got. They didn't embarrass themselves. So I guess good on them. But again, this was not anything to go back and rewatch, and it was easily the weakest match of the night because Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne, they can't wrestle. They can't wrestle. They are not good professional wrestlers. No one cares about them as a tag team. They are legitimately all looks. They are legitimately all looks. They're not as bad as Nia Jax. They're not as bad as Dana Brooke. They're not as bad as fucking Tamina. They're not as bad as Ronda Rousey, but they are certainly not good. They're certainly not good, and they're certainly not entertaining at all. Their characters are fucking stupid. They're lame, and their wrestling ability is subpar. They're not good. They're not good. I don't even know why they're even employed. You fired Mandy, you may as well fire them too. I'm sorry. I don't want to be cruel, but Jacy Jayne and Gigi Dolan, they have no value on their own. Mandy Rose was the only saving grace of Toxic Attraction because Mandy Rose, unlike Gigi and Jacy, could actually wrestle. Toxic Attraction is dead in the water, and Gigi and JC should be nowhere near a wrestling ring, let alone a women's championship match on an NXT premium live event, especially the first one outside of Orlando in 3 years. But the match was not embarrassing. The match was not embarrassing, and I guess that's all I can ask for. So, Perez was fighting an uphill battle from the jump. Gigi and JC used a 2-on-1 advantage, and then we actually got a little tension brewing. Perez with a double springboard arm drag. Gigi was then taken out with a tope suicida by Perez. JC tried to take down Roxanne, but accidentally took down Gigi with a cannonball off the apron. JC and Gigi were trying to get on the same page. Perez delivered a wrecking ball dropkick to JC. Gigi became unhinged. Gigi and Perez were on the apron. We had an STO to Perez on the apron. Gigi and JC, they then finally went at it. Couple of slaps, double crossbody by Perez. Roxanne mounted a comeback with a couple of corner avalanches. Russian leg sweep DDT combo for a 2. JC hung Perez in a tree of woe. Gigi was in a prone position. We had a cannonball into the corner by JC, taking out both women. JC delivered a V-trigger, which looked pretty decent, I will say. Probably the best looking move that JC Jane ever did. Dolan then broke it up. Dolan and Jane went at it. We had a rolling elbow by Jane. Dolan came back with a roundhouse kick. And Jane was out. Suplex with a bridge by Gigi. And Jane broke it up with a senton. We had a double super kick by Dolan and Jane. Double headbutt. Both fell into the pin. Perez kicked out. Jane then set up a table. Perez fought back, delivered pop rocks to Dolan on the floor. JC Jane and Perez were both up top. Dolan tried to get involved, but Perez shoved her off the apron, through a table, and then delivered an avalanche pop rocks to JC Jane, and Perez retains the women's championship in a match that was much, much better than I could have ever expected. I thought it was going to be an embarrassment, but it was not, surprisingly. And I guess that's all I could ask for. And it was a nice change of pace to see Gigi and JC attempt to wrestle. But at the end of the day, it was very unmemorable. It was just there. Nothing to go back and rewatch. And there was no chance in hell that Perez was going to lose the women's championship. Where does Perez go after this? I can honestly see her going after Cora Jade, or Cora Jade going after her at Stand and Deliver. I know some people are pitching Tiffany Stratton. I understand that, but it seems a little too early for that. It seems a little too early to just remove the title from Perez's grasp after what? 4 months? Doesn't really seem fair to me. So if anything, I would much rather see Cora Jade, specifically for the fact that Cora and Perez have history. Cora doesn't need to win the women's title. She's not going to win. She can take a loss. And I'm going to be fair here. From what I've seen from Cora Jade the last couple times I saw her in the ring, Cora Jade has gotten a little bit better. Took her a while. I mean, holy fucking shit. I mean, she's been dating Braun Breaker. You thought she'd pick up on it a little bit more quicker. But Cora Jade has gotten a lot better from the first day. And I guess that's all I can really ask for. She is portraying the right character. She's a fucking heel. And at the end of the day, I guess I can't really complain all too much, because at the end of the day, when Cora Jade first started, she sucked. Now I see her getting a little bit better. And her and Roxanne, they've had decent matches in the past. So it would be a decent little match to get Roxanne through Stand and Deliver, ultimately to get to In Your House in June. And by that time, Roxanne would have had plenty of time with the women's championship. And then you can insert Tiffany Stratton. To me, it just doesn't seem right in order to take the title off of Perez so quickly by putting her in a match with Tiffany Stratton at Stand and Deliver. By putting her in a match with Cora Jade, who I will be fair to and say that she's gotten a little bit better. It presents a decent story. They have history. They've had decent matches. And in the end, Perez can beat Cora Jade. Cora Jade can take the loss. Perez can hold the championship for a little bit longer. Tiffany Stratton can be built up a little bit longer. And in the end, Tiffany Stratton will be the woman to take the title off of Roxanne Perez at NXT In Your House in June. It makes for a much better plan. It makes for a much better story. And it gives Roxanne a solid time with the championship. That's what I would do. That, to me, is the best route to go. But in the end, I can absolutely see Tiffany Stratton being the woman to take the title off of Roxanne Perez when the time is right. I can absolutely see Tiffany Stratton being the woman to take the title off of Roxanne Perez when the time is right. Just not now. Just not now. Main event. Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller steel cage match for the NXT Championship. And once again, similar to Apollo Crews and Carmelo Hayes, I don't know. I just felt like this match was a little too slow. I feel as though they could have done a little bit more, and they didn't. They could have done a little bit more, and they didn't. Not to say that it was a bad match. It was a very solid main event. Braun Breaker has gotten a lot better. Grayson Waller has gotten a lot better. Both of these two individuals are two individuals that you can easily put on the main roster, and they will fit like gloves. Grayson Waller knows how to play a prick. Braun Breaker is a great babyface. He's very intense. He's very explosive. But I don't know what it was. I guess it's because of the simple fact that it was rather predictable, and they didn't really do enough. Not saying that they didn't do anything. They just didn't do enough. Still a solid match, though. It just wasn't, oh my God, you got to go out of your way to watch this. I preferred Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross back at Crown Jewel over this match. So, Waller attacked Breaker before the bell even rang. Breaker fought back. Breaker and Waller entered the cage, and we officially got the match started. Breaker was using his power, nice stiff lariat, belly-to-belly suplex, and a power slam out of the air. Breaker accidentally drove himself into the cage. Breaker was now on the receiving end of Grayson Waller, throwing him into the cage multiple times. Braun Breaker was kneeling over, and Grayson Waller, this is probably one of my favorite moves that Grayson Waller does. He delivers a front flip into an unprettier. So, like, picture how Christian Cage does the kill switch. Grayson Waller does a front flip into an unprettier right on the money, and he makes it look so fucking effortless. I think Grayson Waller, he's gotten so much better in the ring. He has done a fantastic job with his character. I'm a Grayson Waller guy. He knows how to play a prick. He really does. So, Breaker came back with a Frankensteiner off the top for a 2. Waller caught Braun Breaker with a knee. Nice diving elbow drop for a 2. Breaker was then tied up in the ropes, and it was all legal. Waller with a nice running drop kick to Breaker. Breaker was defenseless. Waller delivered a spear of his own. He delivered a spear of his own when Braun Breaker was tied up in the ropes. So Waller was just mouthing off to Braun. Braun, he then got pissed off. He had this look on him like, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to murder this motherfucker. He got himself out of the ropes because he's Braun Breaker. Then he took Grayson Waller and just bashed him into the cage, all 4 corners. Waller was then military pressed into the cage. Breaker went for his military press slam. Waller with a low blow. Stunner connects. Braun Breaker kicked out. Waller then decided to go to the top of the cage, and he wanted to go viral. Waller was up high. He was looking good, but then Braun Breaker was up. Braun Breaker was staring down Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller said, okay, fuck this shit. I'm getting out of here. He tried to escape the cage. And might I also add that I love the fact that Shawn Michaels made this pinfall or submission. You cannot escape the cage. Pinfall or submission. I think all cage matches should be like that. Braun Breaker then with a superplex off the top of the cage to Grayson Waller, and Waller was down. Braun Breaker hit a spear. Breaker looked down at Waller. Waller could barely stand. Breaker said, "This is my dog pound. I run NXT." Braun Breaker then delivered one final vicious spear. Waller defiant till the end, and Braun Breaker retains the NXT Championship in what was a solid main event. Could have been better, could have done a little bit more. I don't know what it was, but at the end of the day, it was solid, but it just could have been a little bit better. Same with Apollo Crews and Carmelo Hayes. But in the end, a solid main event to cap off what was a very good wrestling show, but ultimately nothing to go back and rewatch outside of the opening match, specifically because of the fact that there is just no emotional investment in NXT, and NXT right now is the worst show on TV. But the one thing that I loved about the main event the most is what happened after the match, because Breaker was on top of the steel cage, holding the championship high. He turned around and he saw Carmelo Hayes walking down the entranceway, and Carmelo Hayes pointed at Braun Breaker, and they had a stare down as the show went off the air. And that is how NXT Vengeance Day ended. It was quick. The 3 hours flew by, and it looks like we got ourselves our main event for NXT Stand and Deliver. And I want to talk about this before we get out of here. I've noticed that Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes, they have faced off against virtually everyone in NXT. It's almost, in a sense, I don't want to make comparisons, but it's almost like Hangman and Moxley. Hangman and Moxley did not face at all in a one-on-one capacity for 3 years before they finally entered into a feud. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes have been with the new NXT from the jump. They've been with the new NXT from the jump. And they have been very, very, very far apart from each other. They've always been separated. The only time in which they were actually together was in the final NXT War Games match, all the way back at the end of 2021, where we saw Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes end up winning the War Games match, with Braun Breaker obviously being the one to pin Tommaso Ciampa. But never once have we gotten a one-on-one match with Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker. We've seen Carmelo Hayes and Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes and Solo Sikoa, Braun Breaker and Gunther, and Braun Breaker and Grayson Waller, Braun Breaker, Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes, Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes and a Wes Lee, a Braun Breaker and a Cameron Grimes, a Carmelo Hayes and a Cameron Grimes, a JD McDonough and a Braun Breaker, a Carmelo Hayes and a Pete Dunne, or a Butch, or a Johnny Gargano, a Braun Breaker versus a Johnny Gargano. We've seen every combination of everything except for Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker. And the reason being is because I feel like that was a match from the jump that they were keeping their eyes on, and they wanted to save that match specifically for a very, very, very special occasion. And I think that special occasion is now upon us. They were building up Carmelo Hayes for this huge moment because Carmelo Hayes was going to be the guy that was going to lead NXT into the future. And with Braun Breaker pretty much running through everyone in NXT, Joe Gacy, Cameron Grimes, JD McDonough, Tyler Bate, Ilya Dragunov, Von Wagner, Apollo Crews, Grayson Waller. He's had great matches with everyone. I feel like this is going to be the match where we start to see the turning point in NXT. Now, both of them are ready for the main roster. Both of them are more than ready for the main roster. If anything, I would have Carmelo Hayes get called up to the main roster and have him in Hit Row, because that makes sense. The partnership makes sense, and Carmelo Hayes could be a guy that would help get Hit Row over. They need a legitimate leader. They don't have anything. And with Carmelo Hayes as a part of Hit Row, that would help the group immensely. Braun Breaker, he's been ready to get called up to the main roster. If anything, I would have had him drop the championship to Apollo Crews. I would have absolutely had Apollo Crews beat Braun Breaker back at NXT Deadline, but he didn't. I don't know why, but he didn't. But after he didn't, after he lost, I had it in my head, all right, I know where they're going. Grayson Waller may have won the Iron Survivor Challenge, but Grayson Waller is not going to beat Braun Breaker. He was never going to beat Braun Breaker. This close to WrestleMania season, Braun Breaker is coming up on 1 year as the NXT champion. Braun Breaker is coming up on 1 year as the NXT champion. In the end of all this, as soon as the referee counted 3 and Braun Breaker beat Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes was set in stone to face Braun Breaker at Stand and Deliver, and Carmelo Hayes was the man and is going to be the man to take that championship from Apollo Crews. And it's going to be a great moment. This is the first real, genuine NXT moment that I feel as though is going to be big. This is the first real, genuine NXT moment that I can honestly tell you, the first real, legit, genuine, big-time moment for NXT that I can honestly tell you is going to take place since the days of Black and Gold. We have never had a big-time moment like this in a long time, because these two are the top 2 biggest new recruits. These are the top 2 new recruits of the new NXT era. You can have your Creed brothers, you can have your Roxanne Perez's and your Tiffany Strattons and your Solo Sikoas and your Grayson Wallers, your Tony D'Angelo's and your Nikita Lyons and a Zoe Stark, and you can have your Malik Blade, and you can have your Idria Sanofe and Von Wagner. But at the end of the day, the top 2 new NXT recruits are Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes has always been more of that indie style. Carmelo Hayes would have fit perfectly in NXT Black and Gold. But Braun Breaker, he was a guy that was hand-selected to be the new face of NXT. And he's taken that role and he's excelled at it. Meanwhile, Carmelo Hayes, he was always underneath Braun Breaker. He was always underneath, he was the number 2 underneath Braun Breaker, whether he was the North American champion or whether he was not the North American champion. No matter where he was, it was Braun Breaker at the top because he was hand-selected, and then Carmelo Hayes right underneath him just because of how good Carmelo Hayes is with his look, his charisma, his in-ring ability. I actually think he's a better wrestler than Braun Breaker. And it's going to be a very, very, very big moment because now, finally, the top 2 new recruits of the new NXT era are going to clash, and it is going to be a changing of the guard with Carmelo Hayes beating Braun Breaker. Even though Hayes doesn't need it, it is going to be a great moment for Hayes because it is going to be the cherry on top of the cake for Carmelo Hayes, solidifying him as one of the best, if not the best. If you ask me, I prefer Carmelo Hayes over Braun Breaker. If you're asking me, it's going to be the cherry on top of the cake that solidifies Carmelo Hayes as the best, and I mean the absolute best recruit of the new NXT era. It is going to be a great moment for both men based on the fact that they both started together. It is going to be a great moment for the fact that Braun Breaker came from nothing. He was hand-selected to be in this position, and he took the ball, he ran with it, and he gave us something of substance with great matches with everyone. Carmelo Hayes being the guy that was always number 2 underneath Braun Breaker, and now the top 2 recruits finally clashing with Braun Breaker transferring the keys to the kingdom to Carmelo Hayes, and Carmelo Hayes is going to be that guy. He's going to be that man. He's going to be him, as he calls himself, in NXT, going into the spring, going into the summer, and whenever the next top-tier babyface comes around and he's ready to drop that title, he will drop it. He will get called up. There's no rush for Carmelo Hayes. He's only, 25, 26? It will be a great moment at Stand and Deliver. And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Rewind. And you guys once again came in clutch for yet another busy weekend for the DJ Storms brand. Thank you very much, everyone who decided to tune in. You guys are great. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all of you. Please do not forget to like, to comment, to subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. We are on the road to WrestleMania. We got plenty more coming next week. This week, actually, for Thursday, I'm thinking about going live with an LFU because I have other obligations on Saturday. So there's going to be no Saturday LFU this week. It is going to be on a Thursday. It's going to be Thursday this week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are going to do a special Thursday LFU. We'll talk about Dynamite. We'll talk about Raw. We'll talk about some news and rumors, and it'll be a nice, fun, chill stream on a Thursday. I hope you guys will join me. But until then, thank you very much for joining. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. But before we get out of here, one more time, people, who runs the IWC? The most important question that one person could potentially answer. Let me take a little sip of my ice water. I'll tell ya who runs the IWC. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms? And don't you forget it.